And hello, Marvel fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Zone TV Movie Entertainment with me, your host Jonathan, once again bringing you my thoughts and review. But tonight's episode of Disney Plus's Daredevil Born Again. That's right, episode 8. We have one episode left before the last episode, which is next week. And oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, this episode was very, very, very good. This whole show has been fantastic from start to finish, I don't even know where to begin. First of all, so let's do a little background from last week's episode and spoilers if you've not caught up to Daredevil yet, and if you haven't, what are you guys watching? Nothing else is important until Andor comes out. So we all know from last week that Muse kidnapped Heather, and he was gonna try to kill her. Daredevil shows up, takes him out, and then Heather blasts him and he dies. Now, I thought, okay, it's a little too easy for him to be dead, or maybe he wasn't the real Muse, and and after seeing tonight's episode, I'm now at a point to say that it's like 80% chance that he's dead. I mean, there's still another 20% chance that the Muse that got killed is a fake, and maybe we'll get the real Muse at the end of next week's episode to set up season 2. There is that possibility, but I'm starting to believe that he actually is dead. Because the real big villain of this season, besides Kingpin, Kingpin's kind of like the Joker, Green Goblin, but the Venom of this story, the Ra's al Ghul to Daredevil will be Bullseye. Bullseye has always been Daredevil's #1 villain, if you don't count Kingpin. Kingpin's more of I always personally think Kingpin's more of a Spider-Man villain, only because, he's the guy who created the Sinister Six. He fights Spider-Man a lot more than he fights Daredevil, but Bullseye has always been Daredevil's main psychopath. Like I said, we love Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin. He's fantastic. Chef's kiss. Yes, he's a great villain for him, but me personally, as a comic book fan, I always thought Kingpin was more of a Spider-Man villain than a Daredevil villain, and that Bullseye was really the villain to Daredevil. Well, we got our wish. We got to see Daredevil communicate with Bullseye, aka Poindexter. Apparently that's his name. Go figure. Kind of a stupid name, but whatever. I apologize if that's really people's real names, but in comic book lore, it's kind of stupid. Anyway, so Matt Murdock had to go visit him. Apparently, he has information about who hired him to try to take out Foggy. And when Matt got the information that, oh yeah, Poindexter wants to talk to you, that brought back the shock and the loss of Foggy, almost killing Bullseye, because he killed Foggy. Now all these questions start going up to Matt's head. Who hired him? Was it Kingpin? Was it somebody else? Why did all that stuff happen? Well, what did Foggy do to deserve his death? And then all that stuff is wrapping around his head. And you also have Heather just trying to not only co-op with the fact that she nearly almost died, she's still writing her book about vigilantes. And then we also get to see Matt kind of put the pieces together of maybe Heather's seeing, Kingpin as a client because she's a therapist, and that really starts to really push Matt over the edge. And then we get this entire episode of just Matt boiling and steaming. You don't really see it, a lot coming out of people. Just his posture, just his, the way he would move and talk to his colleagues, the way he would talk to clients in this episode. It's just everything's wrapped out. It's coming out of when you open a present and sometimes you get gagged by your friends and confetti happens. It's kind of like something blew up in him, and all the information is coming to him all at once and is punching him directly in the head, and he's not taking it well. He's dealing with the fact that the psychopath who killed his best friend wants to see him. He's dealing with the fact that his girlfriend is seeing one of his worst enemies. Why does he want to talk to Heather about? What are they talking about? You know, those questions go up to, you know, Matt's head, and it's just, you know, he's starting to like lose it in this episode. And, you know, seeing Matt Wilson Fisk, aka the mayor, Kingpin, just do his thing without even doing anything. And that just drives Matt crazy, you know? He can just be pretending he's the mayor, doing his wave, talking to people, going to parties, and that's just driving Matt crazy. Because he knows about things that, you know, maybe or maybe not Fisk is doing. So I thought that stuff was great. We also get to see Vanessa get a little bit of a surprise. You know, from us as the audience watching Vanessa get the surprise. But to her, it wasn't really a surprise. She gets taken to this place, and that Fisk takes her to. He opens the door, and then he goes down to a room, and then we find out it's, you know, her ex, you know, her lover. Locked up in a cell. She sees him. Fisk is like, yeah, I promised you I wasn't going to kill him. I kept my promise. I'm a changed man. And then we're like, okay, you know, maybe Vanessa's going to let this guy go. He's going to disappear. We'll never have to see him again. Nope. Vanessa decides, you know what? You have changed. You have changed for me. And now it's time for us to close this chapter of our lives for good. She takes a gun and literally shoots the guy in the cage dead. That's it. That chapter's over from their life. They finally can move past it and be strong together as husband and wife, the king and queen of New York City's underworld in a way, you know what I mean? While Fisk will take care of, you know, I'm the mayor. I'm going to take care of, you know, New York City the right way. While she takes care of the underworld of it and, you know, making the profits and all that stuff, which is a pretty cool cover-up if you really think about it. So I thought that stuff was great. Seeing Matt again going to see Poindexter, a.k.a. Bullseye. He even gets transferred to another prison with a whole bunch of inmates, which is kind of bad for them because, you know, the moment that dude gets his hands released, it's over for people. I don't care how many prison guards are near you. You know, if you are the most deadliest assassin without even using a gun, and you can use anything from a peanut, Colin Farrell reference from Daredevil, the movie, or a paper clip, or even a toothpick as a weapon to kill people, you are the most deadliest person in jail. I don't care, you know, who else is in there. You can have anybody else in that prison with him, and Bullseye will kill you with anything. He can find this. He can use this, a piece of straw, a straw thing. He can use this, flick it at you and hit your arteries or whatever it is and kill you. That's how deadly Bullseye is. The guy hardly ever misses. He's so good at it too. It was just amazing. There's a scene in this episode how Bullseye escapes where after he talks to Matt, and Matt smashes his head on the table, you know, kind of like a Batman, you know, talking to Joker from the Dark Knight, kind of a reference there. And, you know, you figure, you know, Matt Murdock being Ditto, he has the strength to, you know, do that. And the guy's tied up, you know, maybe broke a couple of teeth. What does Bullseye do to escape? He takes the teeth, spits at the guard's eye, clearly it's dead. Takes some needle things, kills the other guards, leaves. While that's happening, he ends up leaving, disguises himself as a cop so he can leave. There's a black and white ball going on. Heather gets invited to it with guests. If she wants to bring somebody, she wants to bring Matt. But he's kind of upset the fact that she doesn't tell him, hey, I'm seeing him and his wife for marriage problems. But, you know, she can't really do that because patient confidentiality, so she has no choice. So, but he knows that, you know, yeah, I know you're seeing the Fisks. He's dangerous. And, you know, we get all that stuff. And, you know, even at the point where they're at the party, Matt figures out it's not really Fisk. By the way, Fisk in this episode at the ball, he has his iconic white suit like he does in the comics. Perfect. It didn't have the black buttons that he normally has. That's fine. But still, fantastic. We see him and Vanessa come out together. They start partying and everything, talking to people. He even threatened Swordsman. If you guys remember Swordsman, the guy with the mustache who was, you know, he was kind of in Hawkeye's TV show with Haley Steinfeld's Kate Bishop's character. He was in her life. He was back. He got threatened by Fisk. He was like, hey, yeah, I know you're swordsman. I know your vigilante thing, blah, 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 blah. I got my task force now taking out vigilantes, So, if you don't work with me, things can happen, So I thought that was pretty interesting to see. Then, of course, we get to see the big climactic moment where Fisk starts dancing with Heather. They start talking a little bit while Matt's talking to Vanessa. And he's like, I figured out that you were the one who hired Bullseye to take out Foggy, and I want to know why. And she's like, she just has this cold face, and I loved it. She had this cold face, and it's like, you're really going to look at me and threaten me? Really? Really? You know who I am? I'm the wife of the guy, And I know who you are, Daredevil. And the way she says it was so clean. I'm like, wow. She said it with a straight face, too. Like she wasn't really scared of him either, too. So I was just like, now that's the woman you could rely on as even if as a supervillain, you can rely on Vanessa to be your right-hand girl. So she ain't someone you want to mess with either. So, Vanessa has some moments too. So there, she's not just a pretty face in Kingpin's side. She has her own dark side too. So I thought that stuff was great. And of course the ending, Fisk was pretty much the main target of Bullseye. And Matt takes the bullet for him, which is the most shocking thing I've ever seen in a superhero thing, ever. Normally when a superhero protects a villain, yeah, we get it, why, but with Matt Murdock and Fisk being so polar opposites, and one hates the other one more, the way he just took that bullet from me, granted, he got shot like around here, like the shoulder, so he's not dead, so we all know that. So the way, like I said, the way he took it, see the blood splatter on Fisk's white jacket was clean. And then, man, it just goes from, it just ends right there, So now we have to wonder, what is next week's episode about? Is Kingpin and Daredevil going to team up to take out Bullseye? And not realizing, yeah, maybe Muse wasn't the right guy we want to go after. We got to go after this psychopath. Because, like I said before, Bullseye's a psycho, dangerous assassin. That guy would do anything. He would use anything to kill you. Bullets, pennies, whatever it is, he'll use it. Guy hardly ever misses, but still. I'm telling you, this episode was great, start to finish. There's even a moment where the BB girl, she's talking to the police commissioner who just witnessed one of his boys from the special task force commit an assault on a paparazzi who snuck into the party to try to get a picture or a quote or something from the mayor, and he put the guy's hand in a grease oil fryer thing, and he couldn't do anything about it. He's like, hey, I can arrest you for doing that, and the guy's like, yeah, we don't work for you. Yeah, we have a higher cause. Like, we're the big guys here, not you anymore. Because remember, this is the commissioner of the police. This guy is like high up police. He's the boss of all the cops. And these cops are working for the mayor. That's the only person who's higher than the commissioner is the mayor of whatever city it is. And this is New York. So, yeah. And these boys are like, yeah, we don't listen to you. We listen to the mayor. And the mayor says we can do whatever the hell it is we want to get what we have to do. So I thought that was great. I do wish we would have got to see the commissioner act more, a little bit more, because we didn't get to see him do much in this show besides the first episode saying that, yeah, your threats are not going to be bothering me. But then when Kingpin or / Fisk was like, I can still threaten you. And, he shows some pictures of his kids and his wife. And he just has to back down like a sad little puppy. I thought he was going to try to do something in the background or something. But he didn't get more of that. So hopefully in the next season we do. If he's even back in the next season. But anyway, fantastic episode. I'm very excited about the final episode for the season. And this show has just been fantastic. From start to finish. And I loved every moment of it. And yeah. If you have not seen this episode, go watch it because it's a doozy. There's so many things I'm probably missing about this episode that I didn't get to cover here, but the main things were the fact that Bullseye's out of prison now. We now know Foggy was killed by Vanessa at Vanessa's orders. Why or why not? Probably had to do with one of his cases. Oh, that's crazy. Matt just took a bullet for Fisk, so there's that. I still think Heather is gonna find out about Matt being Daredevil by one of the Fisks, or he's gonna tell her himself, Matt. So we have to wait and see. So leave me a comment below. Let me know what you guys thought. Stay tuned for more, and thank you very much, and have a good night.